Episode 5 of Season 4 of Fargo was titled The Birthplace of Civilization. Josto strikes back, Ethelrida does the right thing, Lloyd finds himself against the ropes, and Deafy shakes the tree. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Movie Files. Elliot back again with my weekly recap, breakdown, and review of the latest episode of Season 4 of Fargo. We're talking Episode 5, which I'm just going to say it now, may be my favorite episode of the season so far, and we'll talk about that in this spoiler discussion before we dive into it. As you can see on the screen now, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts. That way you all can stay up to date of what's going on over here at Movie Files. If you are new to this channel, Movie Files, welcome. Definitely subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you don't miss any of my other Fargo reviews, other TV coverage, movie reviews, live streams, and all the fun things we do on this very channel. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Really helps out the channel, but I also really appreciate it. And in the comment section, let's talk about this episode 5. We say goodbye to one of my favorite characters. We also set the stage for the coming war. So we're going to break it all down, but let me know what you all thought about this episode, your pros, your cons, your theories for weeks ahead, and let's have a great discussion in the comment section. So again, overall, before I get into this recap, I'm thinking this is my favorite episode. I think it was just so well written. I think it sets the stage for obviously a brutal war to come between the Cannons and the Fada family. So I am just so excited for the future episodes, and I thought this was just such a great stage setter for the back half of the season, which I think is going to be incredible. So let's get into this recap. It opens up with the plan that Josto set last week, where we see him sending Otis and his police officers to bust the Cannons. We see that Leon and Lamiel are arrested, but before they get arrested, they get beaten by the cops, which is very hard to see. And we see Josto and his crew standing outside as they look afar. So this just really kind of just, again, sets the stage for the Cannons and the Fada family to just clash ahead. But we'll talk about that division for one of the families becoming something that's going to maybe give the Cannons a little bit more of an advantage. But again, opening the scene, seeing the war kind of setting the stage, really kind of set the stage for this episode. So as we kind of move forward. So last week we got the reference of Mort Ketterman, but this time we see him live in the flesh as we see the deal kind of takes place in regards to loyalty. We see that the Cannon now has Mort's kind of agreement to help them out when the war comes, which I think will play a big role further down the season when they're going to probably need some manpower to take on the Fada family. So I like that we actually see him. Again, he had a very small role in season 2, like literally he was in episode, like I said, 4, and it was a flashback episode. So it'll be interesting to see if we get any other appearances from past characters from past seasons, but really kind of sets the stage for the coming war. Moving forward, we get the continuation of the cops busting the Cannons in their main spot this time, and I love this scene. By the way, Lloyd, Chris Rock, to me, this was his best performance of any of the episodes. He killed this episode. Every single scene he was in was incredible. But we see Otis, busting some heads, hitting, some of Lloyd's main guys. And I love the conversation, the monologue that we get from Chris Rock in this moment. So he kind of calls out Tick. We learn a little bit of background in regards to Otis's Tick and how he came to kind of have this OCD problem, because we find out that he served in the war and he was a minesweeper. And in learning that he was a minesweeper, we find out that he didn't end up clearing one of the fields, which in return killed one of his colonels and one of his generals. And I love the line about why Lloyd says why he didn't serve in the wars, because why would he serve for a country that doesn't respect him or treat him like a human being, which I love that line there. But also I love that he kind of is not afraid of Otis nor the police, as he continues to say to him, boom, referring to that, obviously him losing a lot of his men and his colonel when he didn't pay attention, which we'll find out why he was distracted, which was a pretty interesting backstory as well. But I love that scene. And again, Lloyd, Chris Rock was fantastic in this episode. And as we kind of wrap up that scene, we see Otis tell Lloyd that Josto gives him a message to stick to the plan, which again just sets the fire off. Just one of the many things that Josto does to really kind of push Lloyd to what he ultimately does and decides going to do in future episodes. So kind of moving forward, we see Ethelrida is writing a letter to Dr. Howard specifying the hiring of one of my favorite characters, who we didn't get that much, like literally at all. The only time we saw her was in this kind of monologue in the scene when Ethelrida is writing a letter about Orietta, about her past. And we learned that in this scene that it is Ethelrida's birthday. She will be turning 17, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But man, it was a weird scene when we saw Orietta, because we saw her in one of the rooms looking over a patient, but she was hitting her head against the wall, and that was all that we got. It would have been nice to see her play a bigger role in this episode. I understand why. I mean, they didn't really need her in this episode, but I wish they either would have took that scene out or had her maybe, this is me jumping ahead, but maybe even if they were able to maybe see Doc gets shot, maybe they take him to the hospital and she's the one that tries to help Doc, but she ultimately kills him. I thought that would have been maybe something a little bit more compelling, but again, we only got like 2 seconds of her. But either way, as we kind of move forward, we see that Ethelrida talking to her father about if she's going to ever see her auntie again, Zelmar, and Ethelrida is able to get information out of her dad Thurman so easily. He initially tells her, no, I'm not going to tell you where they are, but he eventually spills the beans, tells her where the hospital is, which I'm like, she's obviously going to see her auntie again to get some information from her. But we see she gets the location. She also, her pops tells her that she shouldn't be sniffing around Orietta because she's not someone good to hang around with. And he also reveals that he is pretty confident that he knows that the pie was poison, which again kind of sets this division between two. But I think Ethelrida's main mission and kind of their subplot between Ethelrida and Orietta will be her trying to get her fired, and we'll see how all that plays out. So we kind of move forward and we get a scene between Josto and Rabbi as Josto thinks that his big brother will be leaving town pretty soon because of everything that's kind of shaken up, and he thinks the war is kind of simmered down, which it has not at all, especially when we talk about the ending. But we see that Rabbi kind of fills him in, and I love this scene. Again, the writing in this episode is so fantastic as they're talking about math and English and all that stuff. But I love what Rabbi tells Josto regarding the division that needs to take place within this family, or it's going to end up multiplying. Gaetello's going to end up going back to Italy or calling people back home from Italy and really kind of getting his division overpowering his brother's division. So I love that scene between the two, and I also love that Rabbi has his own plans to get himself and Satchel out of the way once the shooting begins. So again, is this division going on, this civil war between the family, and it really, again, it was just such a well-written episode, and this scene was fantastic. So as expected, Ethelrida does visit her auntie as well as Swanee, and she, it's her birthday today. She shouldn't be doing this on her birthday, right? She should be celebrating, but no, she goes to her auntie. They try to, give her a drink to celebrate her birthday. But I love this conversation as well. Many great conversations in this episode where, Swanee and Zelmar talk about the life of being an outlaw and what makes them not a criminal, which we find out some of their crimes they did in the past and what led them to going to prison. But I love Ethelrida saying, Swanee kind of taunts her and say, who are you? Are you an outlaw? Are you a criminal? Or are you a square? And I love this line from Ethelrida as she responds, I'm Ethelrida. I'm one of a kind. I love that line. I really hope that besides the Orietta subplot that they give her maybe more to do within this potential war that's going to be happening sooner rather than later. But I love that line from Ethelrida. So moving forward, I don't condone this particular scene in regards to how Chris Rock, Lloyd spoke to his wife and his mother-in-law. But as a character, this was a pretty awesome scene as we kind of see his wife and his mother-in-law kind of coming at him for not only losing their son and trading their son to the father family and also having their son, Lamiel, being arrested. They call him out, but he lets them know, listen, that bed you're sleeping in, the couch you're sitting on, this roof over your head, how you think you guys got that? We have to do these things to continue our legacy, to continue us being able to have this type of lifestyle that we live. And then he tells his wife to go get me a drink in a more vulgar language. But I just really love every single episode prior to this, Lloyd has been really suave, has been really calm, cool, and collective, but now he's being pushed to be that boss, that crime lord that a lot of people deem him as. So I love, again, I don't condone him the way he was talking to his mother-in-law and talking to his wife, but no less, that scene was just really kind of pivotal because it just shows you that he is kind of on the edge, and that can be either a good thing or a bad thing because he might lose his sight of vision and not having that cool head, especially when he loses his right-hand man that we'll talk about later. But really interesting scene there. I love how the next scene really kind of sets up Josto being more confident crime boss as well as he visits the Cannon's crew that have been locked up. His monologue, again, I'm not condoning what he says at all because it was obviously racist, but I love what he said in regards to his privileges of, even though he's Italian and in America during that time didn't look at Italians as, society and being a part of society ever since, but they're still much higher than what society can look at as black people. But I love what he says to them in his scene regarding, how he's able to have women run for president, which I think was definitely kind of a jab at our current administration. Go vote. Don't forget to vote this year. But either way, I kind of like that scene. But what I also like within that scene is Rabbi sticks around and kind of gets the information like, you guys, what's Lloyd's plan? What you're going to do? And they obviously don't tell him the plan. But again, that scene just really kind of sets up, number one, Josto. He's really kind of coming into his own, very similar to Lloyd, but also Rabbi trying to stop this war from happening. But he tells them, you all are going to die. Really kind of, again, setting the stage for a big war to come. So again, a really quick scene, kind of smaller scene, but a very, very heavy character scene for Otis' character. We find out, we see Timothy Oliphant. Deafy goes to his apartment, asks if he had a long night, and then he asks about the picture on the wall, which was a picture of his ex-lover, Otis's lover, who didn't pass away, but she was brutally murdered. We find out that, the reason why he was distracted in the field is because that morning he found out about his future wife-to-be was murdered. So that explains why he wasn't able to clear the field, and really kind of puts you don't sympathize with him, but you kind of do, even though he's, I guess I don't know what side of the line you guys lie on, Team Cannon, Team Fata family, but, it does kind of make that character a little bit more of a gray area character. He's not black, he's not white in regards to good or evil. He's just one of those complex characters, but I really kind of like that backstory that we get with him regarding the tick that he got, and also how his soon-to-be wife was murdered, and it explains why the field wasn't clear. But a small moment, but I think a really good character moment. So this next scene that I'm talking about here, I'm convinced that Gaiatello is just being used as a cartoonish character. We see him walk into the coffee shop, slips on the ice, very, very cartoonish again, and it even plays into the scene about Charlie Chaplin, right? He is a very Charlie Chaplin type of character where he just, to me, and I know the show always does this, every season there's this, one or two characters that are just like very out there compared to everyone else in the show, but he has yet to impress me. Like, it's a matter of it's a thing of the acting, it's the writing, it's the character. He just seems so out of place to me. But either way, we see him at the coffee shop, and they try to give him a badass villain moment, but he's just the punchline of the joke to me. He's the comedic relief of this show. Even though he kills the kid that laughed at him and the guy that gave him bad coffee, and he has his monologue about being Italian and the lady Jesus and all that, but to me that scene didn't feel as impactful or as menacing as it was supposed to be, just because, again, I look at that character as just like a cartoon character, and I just don't take him seriously. So that's my thoughts on that scene. But as we kind of move forward, more of Chris Rock killing it in this episode. We see him visit the Smutney family, and he pretty much calls them out for the incident that happened with the money, and tells them that, now things are going to go my way. You guys lost your opportunity to kind of make amends. Now your business is mine. And also, you're going to tell me where your sister is, talking to Mrs. Smutney. And obviously Thurman has this moment where he kind of apologizes, but unfortunately it's too late for that. And I also love the scene when Zero gets the cake. And again, the writing in this episode was just so point on and just so incredible. But as we kind of move forward, again, like I said, the Smutneys do give the business, their mortuary business, over to Lloyd, but they also give the whereabouts where Swanee and Zelmar are. But again, going back to this episode, or going back to this scene, I just really felt that menacing presence from Lloyd, that he wasn't playing around. So on Ethelrida's birthday, she gets a visit from the U.S. Marshal Deafy. He informs her that, of Swanee and her aunt Zelmar's crimes, and he pretty much gives her an ultimatum: I'm going to either get you expelled, or you're going to tell me where your auntie is. So really, again, it's her birthday. She has to celebrate it by being visited by the U.S. Marshal, by going to see her auntie, trying to get her to get drunk. A lot going on for Ethelrida, but she does break because she's very educated. She wants her education is important. Knowledge is power, right? So it is kind of like she did kind of turn her back on her family, but also her mom and dad did the same thing. So I think she made the right move, even though it was technically, snitching. But either way, I think it was a really good scene nonetheless. So as we kind of move forward, we see this kind of cut between scene of Deafy going to where the hotel is, where Swanee and Zelmar is, but we also see that Lloyd beats him to the punch as he takes, Zelmar and Swanee, and they're now working for him. Deafy goes there and says, "son of a biscuit," but that's going to be really interesting. I mean, they're crazy, women, and they have a really dark past, but they're going to be kind of key players, especially with this war to come. But I love that he didn't kill them, he recruited them, which was a really smart move for Loy. Keep your enemies close, as they say, right? But wrapping this up here, this one, the episode to me just became fantastic. It was already great, but this was just like the ice on the cake. We see Doc going to his normal meeting spot where he meets Abel, but we find out in this scene by Count and Gaetello that those meetings are no longer taking place. He's really stepping in front of his brother now, and it's not looking good for Josto, right? So we see, Gaetello being a cartoon character, eating his ice cream in the background, as we see Count threatening Doc about the babies in the box and, the orphans, like the most scariest thing. An orphan in the box is scarier than any monster on Earth. We get all that stuff, and Doc is not fazed by this. He's not even fazed. He's like, you know what, let me get a cup of coffee. And he talks about respect and not earning respect from Count and Gaetello, which was unfortunately his last moments as we wrap up the episode. By the way, Glenn Truman is a fantastic actor. He's been doing this for so long. He's great in everything, but this kind of hurt me, man, because you see the confidence, you see him being unshaken by this man. I love him within this scene. He tells them they're making a mess. Again, they haven't earned his respect. I love this scene, but they kill Doc, which to me, one of my favorite characters on the show. Again, so confident, such a smart, intelligent man, the right-hand man of Loy, has a wealth of knowledge, cool, calm, collective guy, gets shot in the streets, and then it's unfortunate. We see Loy being emotional as he sees the body on the ground, and they pull off, and the episode closes with Doc on the ground, dead, obviously. It was an emotional moment, man, because, again, he's my favorite character. I mean, I wish they didn't kill him. I know why they did it. I wish it was a little bit further in the season if it was going to happen, which it ultimately did. And I know that his death is going to set the stage for this big war that's going to happen, right? But God damn, that sucks, because he's such a great character. He was so fantastic in the role. I don't know who's going to replace him in that role in regarding to, obviously, the right-hand man of Loy, but also just that confident character within the show. He kind of balances out when we get the kind of inconsistencies with Gaetello or sometimes Josto, sometimes Loy. Hopefully they're going to be stronger characters with such a pivotal character being gone now. But maybe this gives Orietta more to do, Ethelrida more to do, or maybe another character comes in the mix potentially. But, man, I hate that Doc is gone. R.I.P. to Doc. Incredible job by the actor. Again, one of the best doing it right now in regards to his whole career. Glenn Truman is such a fantastic actor. And again, R.I.P., man. But this was a great episode, man. Overall thoughts, minus Gaetello being cartoonish, minus the lack of Orietta in the episode, and obviously minus the death of, Doc Senator. This was a fantastic episode. Through and through, the writing was incredible. The acting was incredible, minus Gaetello. But this was a great episode, and it really does set the stage for the war that will be pivotal. But keep in mind, we now, Loy's making moves to have more people join his army. We see this division, Rabbi's kind of setting up this kind of civil war in his own six between the two brothers, and we'll see what comes of that. But overall, man, fantastic episode. I want to know what you all thought of the episode, your pros, your cons, your theories for the weeks ahead. Make sure to always like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you don't miss any of my other videos for this show, as well as many other shows, movies, and live streams. Hope you all are having a great day. Hope you enjoyed this video. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.